So if you imagine a traditional and legacy NAC 82.1x based solution fail closed architecture, you definitely will expect a load balancer, high availability, disaster recovery, certificate authority, and so on. Here we pack everything along with our Radius and provide it as a service with two data centers in Azure infrastructure. One is located in West Europe, Netherlands actually, and second one is East US. So for us, I suppose it's West Europe will be more relevant. All right. So basically, as I mentioned, we provide that Radius with all other components as a service. So basically, you don't need to know anything about Radius and authentication methods. All right. So for you, it will be simplified. So simplicity here, it's our main purpose. So instead of saying 82.1x, TLS, ETLS, so on, we will say authentication with certificate, authentication with password, and so on. So let's go and see that happens in the UI. All right. So any questions about our architecture? All right. So I'll move on to our user interface. So you sign up with us using your corporate email. All right, it will accept corporate, it doesn't accept any generic emails like Hotmail or Gmail. You are able to do SSO using your G Suite or Azure Identity. And our evaluation period, our default evaluation period is 30 days. All features are included. Currently, due to coronavirus outbreak, we have extended that period to 90 days. And we have free clear for free service for up to 10 wireless devices. All right, so when you sign up with us, you become an initial administrator of your organization. So I will go through our MSP. So we have MSP for customers, for partners, and our main MSP. So I'll navigate to our organization just to show you the flow. Sorry, this is Heber. All right, so Portnox Dashboard will sum up your current state in terms of devices, our division by LDAP, clear accounts, MAC-based, and so on, geolocation of your supplicants, some statistics over here. All right, but let's go to the interesting stuff under settings. So the first thing you will do, you will get a Radius instance for your organization. So here it will be European Radius. It can be North America as well. You can do both and use European as a primary and American as secondary for redundancy. So let me show you how it happens on Meraki access point. For example, it can be anything, any network element that supports 82.1x. Here, just a simple example of Meraki. So you can see you just get our Radius and you define it here under Radius servers on Meraki SSID. It can be a switch or anything else. If you go to help menu, you will find many guides. It's all guides for deployment and maintenance are here, and many best practice guides for different vendors on wireless, wired VPN, wireless for guests as well. And if it's a vendor is not here, it doesn't mean it's not supported. It's just not among our best practices guides. But any vendor that supports authentication, that supports AAA, authentication, authorization, and accounting, is supported by CLEAR. So it's totally vendor agnostic, and it's totally multi-tenant, by the way. It's very important to emphasize that, especially these days. So if you have a headquarters and branch, your 82.1x and radius authentication in that branch has no dependency on site-to-site VPN. It goes directly to cloud, so it's multi-tenant by definition. And here, by the way, I don't know if you're familiar with that feature of Meraki. Other vendors like Aruba have it as well. So here, due to coronavirus outbreak, we work from home. So we created kind of home offices. So we provide our employees with a Meraki access point, and then we do layer 3 roaming or SSID tunneling. Okay, so a client is connecting an SSID at home, that SSID, and he gets a tunnel to the office. So it's no VPN involved. It's kind of VPN, but it just a wireless connection protected by 82.1x, radius, and so on. We use Active Directory as authentication repository and connect to our office. We do some VPN split tunnel. It's configurable here. So it's very nice feature, and it's if you want to protect it with WPA Enterprise with .1x, Cloud Radius is the only solution here. All right. So this is Radius. You configure it in your network elements, in your authenticators. And now you decide which authentication repository you are going to use. So currently, most of our customers will use on-prem Active Directory as authentication repository. So it requires an agent, which name is AD Broker, that is installed on a DC on any machine that speaks LDAP or LDAP over SSL with a DC. So basically, that component is responsible for sync between Active Directory and our cloud services. So you can see that mapping. Let's go and see groups. So here we map groups of our Active Directory to groups in CLEAR. All right, so let's take customer support group, so customer success. Here we mapped a group, all right, from Active Directory group, and thus all accounts of that group that will enroll agents or just do successful authentication. So upon successful authentication to a network, will be automatically added to that group, to this group. So here you can see that automatic LDAP-based device onboarding. And why do we need to map groups? Why we need that mapping? Because we want to apply different policies and different settings to different groups. So first of all, access, right? We want to, sometimes we want to do kind of segmentation. We don't allow access to anywhere. So for example, engineers doesn't have access to finance, and finance don't have access to management. So here we name it access control policy. All right, so for example, let's take a finance group. All right, so we do VLAN assignment upon successful authentication, wireless and wired, and even VPN. Fallback VLAN can be supported upon authentication violation, risk policy, so it's quarantine VLAN. All right, and what happens if it's blocked by admin? So this is access control policy, and each group has that access control policy assignment. All right, with its dedicated VLAN. You can do just a default policy with no VLAN assignment. It's up to you. But here it's an option to do that access control policy and risk assessment policy. So let's skip risk assessment policy just for a minute. I will deliver other stuff of group settings, and then we will discuss agents and risk assessment policy with more details. So other settings of our groups, we dedicate wireless networks for groups. All right, so here it's 2 wireless network authorized for that group, for customer success group. And we decide a network type. So here it's a 2.1x with certificate. We can allow another protocol. But the thing is that when you enroll agent or even do self-onboarding through our self-onboarding portal, it will automatically provision your device. So you don't need, it will, the onboarding process will be totally transparent for end users. You don't need to go and configure it manually, or you don't need to ask your users to do any hands-on on their machines. Just propagating agents via GPO or other type of silent unintended mode. For example, script through SSCM with the MSI execs, and agent will inherit credentials of a session of a connected users to enroll and provision the endpoint. And then it will do automatic mapping of users to group in CLEAR. By the way, it can be computer account as well, not only user account. So after deciding on authentication repository, just to add to authentication repository, so most common is the Active Directory, but Azure is definitely supported as well. So pure Azure, hybrid Azure is supported, so we can use Azure Directory here and use its domains and groups, G Suite integration, and Okta, which is very refreshing in use. So we can use Okta Universal Directory for identity provider and for network authentication, and SSO into UI for administrators management here. So you can see it over here that we have local administrators, right? Okta administrators, Azure administrators. So it's our SSO single sign-on into CLEAR dashboard. But let's go back to risk assessment policy. So after you decided on your authentication repository, you decide how to, the work mode, agentless or agent-based. Agent-based has two benefits. First one is automatic onboarding. So when you install and enroll agent on endpoint, it's provisioned to connect to any type of network, no hands-on at all. So simple provisioning of your entire inventory, and of course risk assessment policy and remediation. So with Agent P installed on endpoints, we know the risk score of our machines, of our devices all the time, even if they are not connected to a corporate network, even if they are off-prem. So here you can see different risk policies in our organization, different risk policies for different groups. So let's go inside and see. Example for Windows, different checks we can do, different compliance check. For example, I will ban antivirus here. I adjust my allow, my alert, and my block level. By the way, you remember, block, it doesn't mean block. It can be quarantine. It can be isolate in a VLAN if it reaches a block level. So here, an example of antivirus for domain membership, I will alert. I can ban devices with no antivirus. I can require drive encryption and so on. So we know that we score all the time, and we will see a simulation in a few minutes. And the more important part is not only we know that risk score for 5 operating systems, yes, Android, iOS, Windows, macOS, and Linux, we can remediate it. So if device has become risky at home, it can be remediated by Agent P. So it will be healthy in terms of compliance at the moment it will try to access a corporate network, which is great. And again, you assign risk policy and remediation policy for every group in your organization, right? So every group has risk assessment policy, access control policy, and remediation policy. Okay, so here, let's go and see. So I think these days is very important for VPN, right? So devices at home, the connection to antivirus server to SCCM. They might become risky. They might connect some peripheral stuff. You don't want them to connect. They can browse to some sites, might download some threads. So for this purpose, we have our remediation policy. And let's see a simulation. By the way, before showing you the simulation, that my screen capture with the risk assessment policy presentation, I just want to mention our VPN support. So we do authentication through Radius for any VPN concentrator that supports Radius. And we can do a simple second factor authentication as soft token generated on Agent P, or we can require Agent P to be installed physically, literally installed on endpoint that is trying to connect the VPN. So then it will be conversation between the cloud and Agent P to verify that the very device is connecting and not something else. So it will do both second factor authentication and risk assessment policy, and of course remediation. So let's see a quick clip here. So here it's a VPN, like a few weeks ago, has been taken. So here just I will show that Agent P is selected as second factor authentication. I'm off-prem, working from home. And now I will connect my VPN. L2TP, it's a Meraki VPN, doesn't matter, can be anything. So no problem because my device is healthy. It will let me in, and we will see that VPN successful alert, VPN connection success alert among our alerts in our under alerts menu over here. So VPN authentication success. My risk score is 30, which is alert level. So it hasn't blocked me. And now I will disconnect VPN and I will make my device risky by turning off my my Windows Defender real-time protection. So I'm showing here that we require antivirus. It should be installed, running, and updated. And we have a databases of all common products. And if you have something else that is not among our antivirus products, we can add it on the fly. So my Windows Defender real-time protection is off. I expect to receive a notification from the cloud to my agent. A notification here is coming that my device reached block level with 100 points according to a risk assessment policy that is signed to my group, right? And now, yeah, this is my group, and now I will try to connect that Meraki VPN again. I expect a failure. Of course, it's coming with another notification on my device. I will show you all notifications here, and the notification are summarized. So my device is unable to connect the VPN because I'm risky, because my antivirus is off. So now I'm showing you my remediation policy that should start my antivirus. So now I'm waiting, I'm expecting a preventive action that will start my antivirus. Here it is, still off. It might take a few seconds. I'm just showing you again that alert, VPN access denied due to policy violation. And let's see what's happening with my Windows Defender. 1, 2, 3, it's on. It's on by an action. Let's see which action has turned it on. It will take another few seconds to update my risk score and another sync between cloud and my device is still listed as risky with 100 points, but in 20 seconds, it will be the risk score will be reduced. So let's scroll up here and see that preventive action that has started my antivirus, as you saw in the Windows Defender interface. Now I just need to see that my risk score has been dropped to 30 again, 30 level. So I'm not risky anymore, and Radius should let me in to a VPN. Yeah, so I'm connected, all good. I'm back on track. So it wasn't a VPN example because due to coronavirus outbreak, but it definitely works same on wired, wireless, and VPN. So any questions so far, guys? Any questions about risk score, agents, VPN, anything?
Actually, I've got a question. Which component and at what moment in time just forced this Windows Defender to be started automatically?
Look, so here it's our agent P. It has a button, the tick button, right? So it automatic tick happens every 3 minutes, all right? So up to 3 minutes from that, it will trigger an action. It will report to cloud that device has, agent itself will recognize that risk score violation, will trigger preventive action, and announce the cloud about risk violation. So it depends. It might take a few seconds to remediate, like kill process. It might take a bit longer. For example, execute something, execute a file that will update antivirus or antivirus start. So it depends, but yes, up to 3 minutes, it will take an action. And by the way, if core protocol change of authorization is configured, it will cut off device immediately from any network, wired, wireless, or VPN. Radius will send core request, so you won't need to wait until remediation cycle to try to cut off risky devices off your network.
Okay, understood. But just to be clear on that, the start point of this process of remediation takes place since the unsuccessful connection attempt to the network, or every 3 minutes this agent P is just doing some checks on the local workstation?
Not at all. No. It will trigger remediation even if you're off-prem and you don't you're not trying to connect anything. We know risk score all the time when device is connected to internet, right? So there is a sync between cloud and agent P, and we will try remediate device regardless to his authentication attempts or connection attempts.
Okay, I see. So it's just every 3 minutes we'll check the current station of the workstation against the policies, right?
Yes. And if it's risky, it will receive that risk announcement, and we'll try to remediate it according to your remediation policy. Yes, even if it's off-prem, regardless to any connection attempt. So yeah, here the main purpose is to try to remediate you, so you will be healthy at the moment you will try to access, or even if you access other resources like I don't know, like Meraki Dashboard, not network resources, application resources, Salesforce, I don't know, whatever.
Okay, understood. Thanks.
Yeah. So I will move on. So here it's risk and authentication repositories, some integration services here, Okta to do SSO, to force our risk score for Okta SSO to connect into between parties. For example, you do SSO through Okta to Salesforce, and here we'll force our risk score. Palo Alto, a Cortex integration, direct access, which is pretty legacy, but it's supported. MS Intune. So here MS Intune is a very interesting thing. So if you have Intune, if Azure joined an Intune on endpoints, we can use the Intune agent to do risk assessment policy instead of agent P. So we can use Intune compliance score to do compliance. So you won't need to install our agent P. You can take advantage of your Intune agent. And Captive Portal is supported on wireless. So if you want to manage everything at the same place, Captive Portal on wireless with different types of guests, credentials via SMS, permanent or temporary password. Yes. Sponsor guest, I like this feature. So a guest through Captive Portal sends an email to announcement to his host, and his host authorizes his access for 6 hours in this example. All right, and guests are summarized here under guest tab, whether it's they are permanent, temporary, or sponsored guests. And certainly we have integration with SIEM, CEF, syslog, or JSON supported here, and reporting service, of course. And by the way, for redundancy, we provide the local radius. So local radius can be a proxy. So basically you download an image, set your network parameters, and download an ISO and mount into the image you have downloaded, and then you are good to go. So a local radius can be used for redundancy. So you do it, you configure it as a primary radius, and and a cloud radius as secondary. So on daily basis, it's just a proxy. It redirects everything to a cloud. If internet connection or cloud fails for any reason, local radius will take responsibility and authenticate devices by weekly cache. So all known devices a week backwards will be allowed until recovery. So here I can show you an example of using, here it's a switches, right? So it's access policy on switches, on wired. And here you can see an example of local radius and as primary and the cloud as secondary. Just an optional component. It's shown in our architecture as well. So basically we have 3 optional on-prem components. It's cloud broker for Active Directory synchronization, local radius or radius proxy, and profiler and IoT radar, which comes along with cloud broker agent. So again, it's optional, it's not mandatory. So it can be pure cloud solution. It might be, it might do some integration with on-prem components here. Sorry. Questions, guys?
Seems that I'm the only one with the questions. You know, probably the first question which comes to my potential customer would be, what if the Azure goes down, or if there are some, you know, I would say a huge lags, huge latency, especially in the Central Europe, which was quite recently. I mean, 2 weeks ago, Microsoft has some problems, as probably you're aware. So what's then? If you are, I'm assuming that if you've got the radius proxy, this is not a big deal. But what if someone just, you know, don't have one?
Yeah, I see. So basically, there's several solutions for that disaster recovery. First of all, you can pick both radiuses, our European and US. So if you currently in Europe and you use this US instance for authentication, you will feel no difference. It will work pretty same, even if it's transatlantic. So you can pick both, or if it's problems in Europe, it will fall back to US. And by the way, here it's not a radius instance. This is load balancer. So with several instances behind it. So for internet redundancy, we provide both, right? Second option is certainly local radius. So if you want to protect yourself from any failure on internet, regardless to its geolocation, you install local radius. And for 82.1x, you can set fallback VLAN on your wireless and wired. So if there is no connectivity to any radius, primary or secondary, it will do fallback to internet VLAN, for example. So yes, but at the end of the day, it's 82.1x. It fell close. So we need to consider that we need a radius instance somewhere. We provide you with different options to protect yourself, and eventually said that fallback VLAN in case that anything is available. Yeah, I hope it answers your question. It's answering your question.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, here, you know, I can spend a day talking about that cloud radius in terms of security. It has no difference from local radius, from local traditional legacy radiuses. It's a secure TLS tunnel. All traffic goes inside the TLS tunnel. And by the way, by Q2, we will provide an additional TLS wrap tunnel by local radius, an additional tunnel between local radius and cloud radius. We provide plenty scenarios of high availability here and load balancing because we are aware of sensitivity of that setup. And we always have DevOps available. We have different plans. By the way, I didn't show you our plans here, our subscription plans. But we have different subscription plans in terms of support. So it can be platinum level with up to, I don't remember exactly, but 15 minutes for critical cases, for urgent cases. Here you see the differences. A license is devices based. So we count number of devices with add-ons. For example, Agent P is an add-on. SMS, it's another add-on. So here, for example, default is 100 SMS. It can be extended. 50 guests per day can be extended as well. So enterprise includes everything, and essential includes a light setup. For example, without advanced feature, without wired. For small office with wireless only, essential can work, otherwise enterprise. And evaluation certainly includes everything. Any further questions, gentlemen? So my name is Jehuda, by the way. So I'm a SCM, I'm sales engineering manager here in the EMEA region. So I'm responsible for all pre-sale activities. So if you have any questions, problems, a prospect that want to start a POC, don't hesitate to reach out, and we will coordinate any kind of activity, especially these days, which when people might take advantage of that outbreak to invest into infrastructures, to start new projects. People think everything is stopped. I believe that everything might start now, especially in networking and cybersecurity fields.
One more question. If you would describe, let's say, main and important differences between on-prem and this Portnox CLEAR.
Our on-prem Portnox core, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So Portnox core, it's a fail open solution. It's SNMP based, not 82.1x based. Sorry, stop sharing accidentally. Let's go and see core dashboard. So usually I don't do presentation of both because it might confuse. But here it's no. I want to go to demo. Yeah. So Portnox core, it's on-prem SNMP based solution. It's fail open. It's an agentless by definition, non-agent at all, and non.1x. So here we work on visibility. We show you your network. We show switches. We show access points, devices that are connected to ports. So basically we show you here a switch, device, VLAN. We associate between layer 2 and layer 3, right? Here the main purpose is visibility and of course enforcement. But enforcement here is different. So we will connect device. If it's known, we will just present it. If it's new, we can cut it off immediately because we can harden our security policy, or we can give it some grace to try to profile it and authenticate it. For example, here it's an IP phone, a Polycom IP phone, authenticated by a fingerprint method, and this will fetch its internal extension. So here it's collect many details, as much information as we can from our infrastructure of network entities and endpoints, and by the way, connected users as well. So here we can see a connected user. All right, so we pull application. No, it's not a good example. I will walk you through, but let's go through a dashboard. So for example, visibility. So let's load here. Let's see a system breakdown. So I will show all domain machines, a simple filter from dashboard to inventory, from inventory to physical connection on a physical port, right? And then let's see what's going on that device. So we pull a connected user from Active Directory, and we pull applications, services, hotfixes, Windows updates, even open ports. And it's pure agentless, right? We use WMI here in this example for all of this, for authentication, compliance, and additional information pooling. So in terms of security, it's less secure because it's fail open by definition, but we can harden it, and it can be used for a organization that know that they cannot afford or they cannot deploy and maintain 82.1x. Like a legacy bank or a government institute or insurance company that have a legacy old stuff that support very light and legacy protocol authentication methods of .1x, and have many IoT endpoints that don't support it in .1x. So if they will try to deploy .1x, it will take a huge resources for deployment and maintenance, and eventually like 40 or 50% of their network will be authenticated by MAC. So sometimes customers decide that they cannot handle .1x, and Portnox core is a great fit for them in this case. So yeah, basically my rule of thumb will be, if it's innovative, new, many wireless, many VPN, many other cloud services, I will propose CLEAR. If it's more legacy, more wired, closed environment, no cloud services, resistance to cloud, like we don't want to expose anything to cloud, but I think I will propose core, Portnox core.
Yeah, okay, I see. I see this core as, let's say, more standard, more, classical network admission control solution. But is this, let's assume that the customer want to use this, let's say, core functionality, I mean, the SNMP in their office, their building. Is it a way to integrate the CLEAR with core? Or does it make any sense?
Yeah, it definitely does make sense, and there was an effort to do that in the past, but we have decided that are two different philosophies, two different approaches, and usually clients that want to go cloud won't ask for core, and the opposite way. So currently there is no integration. It's not a hybrid product. I think in the near future we will add SNMP capabilities to CLEAR. So installing a on-prem component that can do that visibility job to scan your switches to show ports and VLANs and MACs and IP addresses, which will be great. So yes, it will bring core capabilities to the cloud, but currently it's both are two different solutions at the moment.
Okay, I see. I promise it's my last question.
Yeah, no worries at all.
This Portnox CLEAR, I mean, this is only agent, right?
No, it can be agentless as well. Sorry. I haven't shown you something here. So if it's agentless, you just can authenticate, by entering your credentials or choosing a certificate when you try to connect wireless or wired. Wired settings can be propagated by GPO, but we have our self-onboarding portal. So here is an example of one. So if you want to do it easier, copy it correctly. So here you can use your email or your domain identity to download a authentication profile. You can create you can onboard your account to CLEAR using that self-onboarding portal, or if you want to make it transparent and simple, you can just obtain certificate if it's certificate based on wired or wireless, or you can just download a profile installer, you execute it on your endpoint, and your endpoint is sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. So it has disconnected me from from the network installing that profile. Yeah, so I'm back. And you can see, by the way, here I'm from home, right? I'm working from home now, but you will see that my device has connected to wireless SSID of my Meraki access point over here with that VPN, SSID tunneling I described earlier. Here I'm over here in this organization. So it's .1x authentication to my ClearW network, as you can see here, using certificate, right? But I'm at home. So I'm connected at home, and it's like being connected in the office. Through.
Okay. Is remediation possible for agentless?
No. No. Yeah, for both risk assessment and remediation, it requires agents.
Yeah, sure. That what I thought. Thanks.
Yeah, and in Portnox Core, it's possible, but in Portnox CLEAR, it requires agent.